discussion that because it's something that the Commissioner Johansson, she said repeatedly, which is that there is no us and them. So us, the natives, and them, the migrants, but it's about us. And I think that we need a lot of work still to arrive to that point, and where basically we're all involved, all the locals, be whatever is our origin. So I think this is something that I like to say just at the forefront. And then to say a bit about the objective, why we created this expert group on the views of migrants, which is basically about a lot about making policies better, about better regulation. So there's this agenda in the Commission of better regulation that that in all policies and lawmaking, there is this realization that we need to make these policies more open and involve and basically more listen to the people that are mostly affected, and then this will make the policies better because we'll be more aware, we'll gather evidence about the needs, the situation, so we can make better policies. So this is a little bit the background, but it's also about civic engagement, which is also about discussing and working together and for the public good, basically. And there's been attention to the need for involving migrants also in the policy in the previous action plan of the European Commission, the 2016 one, and also in the new one that was adopted just before, like in 24th of November of 2020. But already in the previous action plan, there was also this realization, but this was mostly for integration, that listening to migrants will make policies more effective because we'll be more aware of the needs, the real needs, and also the outcomes of integration will improve. So this was a little bit what was behind. And I think that there is also some experience in some countries, like for example in Portugal, they have a council where they involve representatives of the main migrant communities of the country, and they discuss about whole in the Council of Migration about all migration and integration policies. So there are some examples. They are not, but at the EU level, there was nothing except a pilot initiative that was done in the framework of the urban agenda. So this was done in 2016, 2018. It was, it's a big framework that is really designed to improve the life in urban areas, and also to make a bit, take better into account the urban authorities in national policies and in EU policies. So this was a bit the special angle of the urban agenda, and there were many partnerships that were put in place. And one of the first partnerships that was launched was precisely on the inclusion of migrants and refugees. And this was this pilot run for a couple of years, and one of the actions was to establish a European Migrant Advisory Board. So this was a board of advisors who are migrants and who would advise on policy making. They would advise on the activities of the urban partnership. And the aim was also a little bit broader because it was also about changing the public perceptions and the narrative around migration. And this was a big, we thought it was a very successful activity. And in fact, the urban partnership has been continued. It was initially designed to finish after 2 years and it's been prolonged. So it continues, it goes on, but not the Migrant Advisory Board, because that was really, really a pilot that was scheduled to end after a year and a half. But we realized that it was, it had been very successful, and we would like to give it a more permanent and a more stable, give it more stability and more permanency. And they also, we also had lots of calls from civil society organizations telling us about this. So it was a lot in the public discussion. There was a lot about how can you make policies without the people concerned being involved. So this is basically then after we decided to create an expert group. And this is what is important to know, is that the expert groups of the Commission, they are already well established. And there's a lot of procedures and rules how to establish them, but there are many. But there was no expert group gathering migrants. So this is what we did. And we did a call for applications. So it was a public call for applications. And we tried to, because it's a Commission initiative, the format of the call, etc., is standard. It's the same for all types of calls. And there are many expert groups that actually target, for example, public authorities or whatever. But it's to the to the audience we were looking for. So we created, for example, we had an information session so that we could explain people who were interested, because we got lots of questions about the format and what should I feel. It was, yeah, it was quite a process. And then we got nearly 400 applications, like 396 applications. And we did the selection internally. We had initially, we wanted to have 20 experts, and then we decided to have 24, just to have a few more, because it was so difficult to make this selection. But at the same time, we needed to keep a group that is functional, that we can work with and have discussions. So it couldn't be too big either. So we basically selected 24, and some are independent members, and others are representing an organization, representing the interest of migrants. And what was important is that we wanted experts. So we didn't just want migrants to represent the views of migrants, but we wanted them to be experts and have experience and knowledge and expertise, and be it studying, academic, practical, could be volunteering as well. But we wanted basically to select experts, and so this was done, and the expert group was created just in time to make a consultation before the adoption of the action plan on integration and inclusion. So we had a meeting with the expert group. It was the first meeting, and then the plan is to have 3 meetings, maybe 4 meetings every year. And the idea is to consult them on initiatives that are in preparation, so that there is good time, so that they can give their input and that it can be taken into account. And also, depending on their interest, on their expertise, they can also propose to have discussions and activities. And this first meeting, it was organized, basically it was organized with the Commissioner Johansson, because she was when we proposed this idea of having this expert group of the Commission, she was very supportive, and she was very keen, and she wanted to meet. She said, I want to meet this group. And she also wanted to promote the launch of the call for applications, so that they would be people interested could apply. And then she wanted to meet the expert group, and because of the time it took to make the selection of all the members, etc., and to have the group up and running, there was a meeting a few weeks before the action plan was adopted, and it was we couldn't share the draft of the action plan at this point, but there was a bit of a discussion about the objectives, the aims, what was intended, and some questions. And then they were invited to respond to these questions. It was a meeting that was it was an online meeting. This is also, so it was short, and there was it could have lasted 3 times longer, because it was very, very rich with inputs and with ideas, and so it was very intense. It was very good, and I think after that, what we will do is we'll have another meeting later this year. We were going to discuss the action plan now that it's been adopted, because the point is, of course, first is to listen to the experts, to listen, and then is to discuss with them. But we would like to then also come back to them and see what was taken on board, what wasn't taken on board, and have a discussion. Also, some things that were perhaps not written in the action plan can still be taken into account during the implementation. And we would like to discuss also with them, have a bit more detailed discussion of different areas of the action plan, and also about the implementation, and how they could support this, because some have said that they would like to be involved also in the implementation. And there's also something because it's a group that was created by DG Migration and Home Affairs. But the idea is to also it's a commission expert group. So it's also to serve other colleagues in the commission in other policy areas, so that we would like to also have discussions on different parts involving the colleagues who are working on education, culture, on employment, on social inclusion, and on any other areas. Yeah, so that's, and also what I didn't say in the beginning, but I think it's also somehow linked, is the fact of how of the fact that in the Commission we are not as staff working for the European Commission, we are not representative of the societies of society, because it has been a lot of discussion about people working in Brussels being so white, and this is a fact that there's very few people who have who are migrants themselves from outside the EU, or with migrant, or even with other minorities. So I think it's also, in a sense, having an expert group is very necessary. Also, but one should also think about the diversity in public service, to make sure that there are also many other ways, so that we can do policies with that everybody, basically people with many backgrounds, contribute to policy making with their expertise and their knowledge. And I think it's a little bit this is a broader objective of human resources, etc. But I think it's somehow it's linked, so it's also good to make the connection.
Wonderful. Did you want to say something about the AMIF?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yes. Also, so we have under the AMIF, we fund union action projects. So we make calls for proposals normally every year, and in the call that is now running, that will be closing at the end. Will be closing in a few weeks' time. One of the priorities is precisely to support in the area of integration, so that's limited to integration, not more, but in the area of integration, to support the involvement of migrants in the design and in the implementation of policies in integration. And there is a component of mutual learning. So because we know that there are, as I said, okay, I mentioned Portugal before, that there is an example. There are some initiatives in other countries or in some cities to involve migrants in policy design. So, but in other countries, there is no experience so far. And this is also, we thought it's a good idea to also put together those who have more experience with those who have less, and so that they can basically find also innovative ways or practices to how to put this in place. So this is one of the priorities that we would like to fund, and we hope to see some proposals that we could support in future. Yeah. About timing and about the nature of the meetings. So perhaps first about the nature of the meeting is that we thought, when we were thinking about this expert group, we imagined to have meetings in Brussels in presence, so that we would gather everybody 3 times per year, and we'd have a full day meeting to discuss many things. And this would, of course, this now it's because we have online meetings for the moment, and probably for the foreseeable future, like in the first half of the year, we'll continue with online meetings. So then we make a bit shorter meetings, and a little bit, and we have less. Also, we launched the group like this remotely, so we haven't really met apart from during these meetings. So we haven't had the time also to discuss a bit more, sometimes in smaller groups, to listen to everybody what could be done. So for the moment, we have a bit shorter meetings, and we had already one in January. So so we had the first one in November to discuss some ideas before the action plan, and we had another one in January. And it was because there is a strategy on the preparation by the Commission on voluntary return and reintegration. And the colleagues, because they were finalizing the strategy, we organized this consultation of the expert group on this specific topic. And this was done a little bit quickly in early January because of the timing of the initiative. And then we'll have another meeting foreseen in spring. And it's going to be on legal migration and on new initiatives, but also on talent partnerships. So also relations with third countries on talent partnerships. And then we have the meeting on the action plan to discuss in more detail the action plan, the feedback to the previous meeting, the different areas, the implementation of the action plan. And this we plan it. We're not sure yet if it's going to be just before summer or after or in September, but something like this. And then we are also seeing if there are other initiatives that are in preparation, that depending on the timing and where they are, we could have perhaps another meeting, because there's been quite a lot of interest in the expert group also among colleagues. But we don't have yet a work program with all the dates, etc.